Hi, my name's Gabriel, Lara, and I'm part of Group 8. And what our subject is that we're going to train for is ADA, or American Disability Act. And these are also my teammates that'll help me make this PowerPoint: Alana, Robertson, Taylor Harris, and Lexi Davis. Okay, so our training objectives. Our main thing is how to determine what is considered a reasonable accommodation for these disabled employees. What not to ask about disabilities with these employees, whether that be in interviews or just in the workplace. FMLA, or Family Medical Leave Act, or company leave acceptance, acceptance for an employee protected by the Americans with Disability Act, so kind of those two merging together. And service animal acceptance. So some of these disabled might be blind or might need a certain kind of dog that knows when a seizure is triggered or something like that. So they need those service dogs to be there during the workplace. Okay. So our training purpose is to educate both Generation X as well as millennials about ADA. The target audience would be Generation X and millennials. So people that are just getting into this new, figuring out what the American Disability Act is, because it was made in the 1990s, so people born after that aren't really open or have experience when the ADA happened. So relevance to training and development, educate themselves about labor law providing discrimination due to disabilities, and requirements for employers to allow equal opportunity within the workplace. Okay, so our ADDIE model, we start with analysis. So we chose the subject of the ADA due to the fact that the previous generation, as well as ours, more commonly will be working with the protected class. We'll discuss more about that later. We want to teach how to properly stay in compliance with the anti-discrimination law within the workplace. Our design, what we want to do with it is a bright, well-lit open office space meeting area, fan-type seating, so make sure to retain that knowledge, get some training, some acting going on over there, get them involved in the training as well. Trainers for Center of Disabilities come and speak as well. And to have a high collaboration, so talking, keeping the conversation alive, kind of things like that. Our development, the group members use knowledge gained from the computer-based training, so CBT, and blended learning collectively to contribute to the development of this presentation. So basically we just want to have a good personal experience with the people that we're trying to talk to about the American Disability Act. And then implement. So in the slides we demonstrate how to properly comply with ADA laws within the workplace. And then evaluation, what we'll do after the PowerPoint is give out a survey that maybe ask them what they've learned that you've never even heard of before this presentation, and also they can talk about what they can do with the information that they learned and how it can apply to them in the workplace afterwards. So we'll start off with the history of the American Disability Act, ADA of 1990, and also Section 504. So the Rehabilitation Act was a precursor to the ADA, so that really helped it get it going. And also the ADA is the nation's first comprehensive civil rights law addressing the needs for people with disabilities. So this was a new turning thing. And then Section 504 of the Disability Act prohibits discrimination of handicapped individuals from any activity from federal programs or programs that received or used federal funds. And then the picture you can see right there, that's President Bush signing the law in effect. Right. The definition of handicap is a physical or mental disability that substantially limits one or more of the major life activities of such individuals. And what a major life activity is, examples of these, so like seeing, hearing, eating, sleeping, walking, lifting, personal care, grooming kind of thing. So they don't really specify what a disability is, but we'll get more into that of why they don't do that. Okay, coverage of the ADA. So the United States Department of Labor estimates as of September 2016 that 19.8% of the workforce has a physical or mental disability. So this is a big population that's going to be involved in the workforce. So as an employee, you got to know how to handle that, and as an employer, you got to know how to, if you go through that hiring process equally as someone that wouldn't be disabled. So ADA definition of disability. So there are 4 prongs to this. The first prong is physical or mental impairment that limits one or more major life activities, so what we talked about earlier. The second prong is record of such disability, so it could be a person with a history of physical or mental illness, even if it does not currently exist, so cancer patients, people that have previously had heart attacks, that's another issue that can arise. And the third problem is being regarded as having an impairment. So if they have certain parents that take care of them, or certain caretakers like nurses back at home, that can be they can fall under a disability under the ADA. And then physical and mental deficiencies are purposely vague and reasons to avoid limiting definitions and to allow room for further development and acknowledgement of disabilities. So kind of just we're growing and we're learning these new disabilities as they go. So they don't want to specifically take out or leave anyone out that might be a disability that's not recognizable or new. Okay, examples of physical impairment would be physiological conditions or disorders, cosmetic disfigurement, so burns to the face, or any damage of loss covering any of the bodily systems. So that would be cancer is your immune system, cerebral palsy, asthma, your respiratory, HIV/AIDS, immune as well. Loss of limbs coming to the first prong as well. All right, examples of mental impairments, reports of any mental or physiological disorders, and then emotion or mental illnesses, and reports of any learning disabilities or impairments. Those all would be considered mental disabilities under the American Discrimination Act, or Disability, I'm sorry. And then American Disability Act exclusions. So it does cover substance abusers or recovering alcoholics, but doesn't cover people that are currently doing the illegal drugs or currently undergoing active alcoholism. So, it also doesn't cover temporary non-chronic ailments, so people that have a broken arm compared to someone that has a missing arm, people that, they fall under the same act because a person with a broken arm can't, maybe lift something with the same as someone with a missing arm, but, it's only temporary with that broken arm, and the missing arm, you can't able to ever do that, so. And then third is, doesn't cover environmental, economical, or cultural disadvantages, so age, sexual orientation, gamblers, having a prison record, examples like that. Alright, Title I of Employment. So this is like kind of a little summary of what the ADA says about employment in Title I. Title I of the Americans with Disability Act of 1990 prohibits private employers, state and local government, employment agencies, and labor unions from discriminating against qualified individuals with disabilities in job application procedures, hiring, firing, advancements, compensation, job training, and other terms, conditions, and privileges of employment. And then also the ADA covers employers with 15 or more employees, including state and local government. It also applies to employment agencies and labor organizations. So if you do have a 15 or less employees, actually ADA does not cover those disabilities. So if it's a very small firm, it doesn't cover it. It only covers with employees of 15 or more. Alright, and then disability discrimination. So disability discrimination occurs when an employer or employee treats an individual with physical or mental disability unfavorable because of the individual's disability. Also can occur with employers that have a history with a disability such as cancer that is in control or in remission. So it could be, like cancer and heart attacks, they can come back again. So we don't want to discriminate with, say, a person going through cancer and it comes through, but then it comes back again. They have to go through chemo and things like that. You have to respect that process as well. All right. Title III would be public accommodations. So a public accommodation is a private entity that owns and operates leases or leases to a place of public accommodations for those in need. Places of public accommodations include a variety of spaces such as restaurants, hotels, theaters, doctor's offices, pharmacies, retail stores, museums, etc., etc. And then private clubs and religious organizations are excluded from the ADA's Title III requirements for public accommodations. Okay, so the ADA expressly provides that that a public accommodation may exclude an individual if that individual possesses a direct threat to the health or safety of others, and it cannot be mitigated by appropriate modifications in the public accommodations. And then also a public accommodation will be permitted to establish objective safety criteria of the operation of its business, and however, any safety standard must be based on objective requirements rather than stereotypes or generalizations. Alright, and then undue hardship. So the law requires employers to give out reasonable accommodations to the employees with a physical or mental disability unless that accommodation would cause severe difficulty or high expenses. So let's say you have a facility that you need to build a ramp, but the ramp would cost way too much and it would actually put your company in deficit, or you have to do all these accommodations for let's say a certain individual, and it's just way out of your budget, and it will cause undue hardship to your company financially, then you don't have to do it. And then conclusion, summing it all up. So why is the ADA important? So the American Disabilities Act is important because we have to be fair in handling and respecting individuals with disabilities in the workplace. So, people with disabilities have a right to work as well as people that are able-bodied as well. So we have to respect that, and injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So I really like that picture, and they're really helping them out. So that concludes our presentation, and then here are our references from the ADA website and the EEOC, the Equal Opportunity, and then Government of District Columbia helped us out with they had a couple slides that had things about the American disability that we used. All right, thank you.